Kong Min's palm struck Jenny's face with a sharp crack that echoed through the shopping mall. She stumbled backward, her shoulders slamming hard against the cold marble wall. Before she could even scream, his foot flew into her side, knocking the air out of her lungs. "Look at you," Kong Min sneered, his voice dripping with mockery. "Still weak. Still nothing." Shoppers gasped. Phones came out. His new girlfriend laughed, loud and cruel. Jenny slid down the wall, shaking, her cheek burning, her ribs screaming in pain. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not for him. As she struggled to breathe, one thought cut through her like a knife. "I was only here to buy gifts for my wedding anniversary." Before we go deeper into this emotional and intense story, thank you so much for tuning in today. I truly appreciate every one of you. I want to wish you a happy and joyful holiday season. May this festive time bring you peace, love, and beautiful moments with those who matter to you. If you enjoy powerful stories filled with love, suspense, and justice, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you never miss the next story. Your support means everything. Now, let's go back to how all this began. Just the night before, Jenny's world had been calm. Soft lights filled the living room of their high-rise apartment in Seoul. Outside, the city sparkled, alive and restless. Inside, everything felt warm and safe. Jenny sat cross-legged on the couch, writing a shopping list while Ji-hoon stood nearby, watching her with quiet affection. "Candles, flowers, wine," he read from her list. "Are you planning a wedding or a spell?" She laughed. "Our wedding anniversary deserves magic." Ji-hoon smiled, the kind of smile that made her heart slow down. He walked over, took the pen from her hand, and pulled her into his arms. "Every day with you already feels like a celebration," he said softly. Jenny rested her head against his chest. To her, Ji-hoon was gentle, loving, and protective. She had no idea he ruled Seoul's underworld. She only knew him as the man who held her when memories hurt too much and kissed her like she was precious. "I'll go to the mall tomorrow morning," she said. "I want to surprise you." His body stiffened slightly. "Don't go alone," Ji-hoon said, his voice low and firm. "Take the security team." She looked up at him. "Ji-hoon, it's just shopping." He cupped her face, his eyes serious. "Promise me." There was fear in his gaze. Real fear. She hesitated, then smiled. "Okay, I promise." He kissed her then, slow, deep, full of emotion. That night, they made love with a quiet intensity, as if holding onto each other could keep the world away. When Jenny fell asleep in his arms, she felt safe. Ji-hoon did not sleep. A strange weight pressed against his chest, a warning he could not explain. The next morning, Jenny slipped out quietly while Ji-hoon slept. She told herself she would be quick. She didn't call the security team. She didn't think about the past, until she walked into the mall and saw Kong Min. Now, as mall security rushed toward them and people whispered her name, Jenny forced herself to stand. She wiped the blood from her lip and looked Kong Min straight in the eyes. "You haven't changed," she said, her voice shaking but strong. "You're still the same man who broke me." He laughed. And somewhere across the city, Ji-hoon's phone buzzed. The storm had begun. The mall did not return to normal after the slap. It couldn't. People whispered in tight circles. Phones stayed raised. The air felt thick, heavy with shock and curiosity. Jenny stood frozen for a second, her heart pounding so loudly she could hear it in her ears. Kong Min straightened his jacket like nothing serious had happened. "See," he said, smirking. "Always dramatic." Jenny's hands shook, but she lifted her head. Her voice came out calm, sharper than even she expected. "You beat me like this before," she said. "That's how I lost our baby." The words cut through the crowd. A few people gasped. Kong Min laughed. Not nervous. Not ashamed. Just amused. "You're still blaming me for your bad luck," he said. "You were weak then. You're weak now." That was when two mall security officers stepped between them. "Sir, you need to come with us," one of them said firmly. Kong Min scoffed. "Do you know who I am?" The officer didn't blink. "I know you assaulted someone." They grabbed Kong Min by the arms. His girlfriend's smile vanished. She stepped back, suddenly unsure. Jenny felt her knees weaken as the adrenaline faded. A kind woman rushed forward and held her elbow. "Sit, please," the woman whispered. "You're bleeding." Jenny sat on a bench, staring at her trembling hands. The pain hit her slowly now. Her cheek, her ribs, her pride. But worse than the pain was the fear crawling up her spine. "I shouldn't have come alone." Her phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Then it rang. Ji-hoon. She hesitated before answering. "Jenny." His voice came through, low and controlled. Too controlled. "Why are you trending on X?" Her throat tightened. Her voice broke. "Where are you?" he asked. "The mall." Silence. Then, softer, dangerous. "Are you hurt?" That question broke her. "Yes," she whispered. A pause. She could hear his breathing. "Who touched you?" Jenny swallowed. My miserable ex-con-min." Something shifted on the line, like a door slamming shut. "Stay where you are," Ji-hoon said. "I'm coming." Before she could reply, the call ended. Across the city, Ji-hoon stood in his office, staring at the video playing on his phone. Jenny's face, Kong-min's hand, the kick, the laughter. The room went cold. "Find out where they're holding him," Ji-hoon said to his assistant, his voice calm and deadly. "And call the mall management." "Yes, sir." Ji-hoon dialed another number. "Listen carefully," he said when the call connected. "If Kong-min walks out of that mall today, it will be the last day that mall exists. Do you understand me?" The voice on the other end trembled. "Why, yes, sir." Back at the mall, Kong-min sat in a security room, still smiling, still confident. "They won't keep me here long," he said lazily. "I'll walk out." Outside, Jenny's phone buzzed again. A message. "Hold tight. I'm 8 minutes away." Her chest tightened. Something about those words felt final. Heavy. People around her were murmuring now. The video had exploded online. Names were being searched. Faces recognized. "She's married," someone whispered. "To who?" another asked. Jenny hugged her arms around herself. Then the sound came. Engines. Loud. Many of them. The mall doors shook slightly as black vehicles pulled into the entrance. Jenny stood. She didn't know why, but she knew. Ji-hoon had arrived. And nothing was going to be the same again. The sound of engines filled the mall like thunder. One black vehicle stopped. Then another. Then many more. People stepped back instinctively as suited men poured out, moving with sharp focus and silent control. They did not shout. They did not run. Yet every step they took carried warning. Jenny's heart raced. She knew that walk. She turned just as Ji-hoon entered. He didn't look angry. That scared her more. His face was calm, almost gentle, but his eyes were dark and cold, like a storm held behind glass. He crossed the marble floor toward her, ignoring the stares, the whispers, the phones pointed at him. "Jenny," he said softly. The moment he reached her, he pulled her into his arms. Tight. Protective. Possessive. "It's okay," he whispered against her hair. "I've got you." Her strength broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she clutched his suit. "I'm sorry," she cried. "I didn't think." He pulled back just enough to look at her face. His jaw tightened when he saw the red mark on her cheek, the tear in her dress, the way she winced when she moved. "Are you hurt?" he asked again, slower this time. She nodded. His thumb brushed her cheek, careful not to touch the swollen skin. His voice dropped to a dangerous calm. "Who did this?" "You know," she whispered. "Kong-min." Ji-hoon nodded once. That was all. He turned to one of his men. "Stay with my wife." Then he walked away. Jenny felt a chill crawl up her spine as she watched him head toward the security room. Every step he took felt final, like a countdown. Inside the room, Kong-min was still relaxed, sitting with his legs crossed. "So, this is what all the noise is about," Kong-min said, as Ji-hoon entered. "You must be her new man." Ji-hoon closed the door behind him. The room went quiet. "You slapped my wife," Ji-hoon said calmly. Kong-min laughed. "Your wife? That low-class girl?" The slap came fast. Hard. Kong-min's head snapped to the side as he crashed against the table. Before he could react, Ji-hoon grabbed him by the collar, lifted him off the floor, and slammed him into the wall. The impact shook the room. "You don't get to speak her name," Ji-hoon said, his voice low and steady. "Not ever." Kangmin gasped, shock finally replacing confidence. "Do you know who I am?" Ji-hoon leaned closer. "Do you know who I am?" He tightened his grip. "I could burn everything you own," Ji-hoon continued. "I could erase your name from Seoul and walk away clean." Kangmin's eyes widened. "I am Ji-hoon," he said simply, "and nobody touches my wife and walks free." Outside, the mall buzzed like a shaken hive. Videos leaked. Names trended. Whispers turned into headlines. Seoul's Mafia king spotted in Gangnam Mall. Jenny stood with shaking legs as she watched Ji-hoon come back out. The suited men stepped aside for him. He went straight to her and pulled her close again. "Let's go home," he said softly. At home, silence filled the apartment. Jenny finally spoke. "Ji-hoon, who are you?" He turned to her slowly. The truth was heavy between them. "I didn't want you to find out like this," he said. "But yes, I'm the man they fear." She waited. Her heart pounded. "I became this because the world doesn't protect people like us," he continued. "So, I learned to protect myself." Jenny's voice trembled. "Will you hurt him more?" Ji-hoon looked at her carefully. "Only if you want justice." Tears filled her eyes as memories rushed back. The beatings, the miscarriage, the silence. "He destroyed me," she whispered. Ji-hoon pulled her into his arms. "Then I'll make sure he never hurts you again." Jenny rested her head on his chest, fear and relief mixing inside her. Outside, Seoul buzzed. And Kangmin's fall had only just begun. The apartment felt different that night. Too quiet. Too still. Jenny sat on the edge of the bed, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The city lights outside the window blinked like nothing had happened, like her world hadn't just cracked open. Ji-hoon stood a few steps away, his jacket gone, his sleeves rolled up. For the first time since they met, he looked unsure. "I never wanted you to find out like this," he said softly. Jenny lifted her eyes to him. "Then how did you want me to find out?" she asked. "When someone else tried to kill me?" The words hit him hard. He exhaled slowly and sat across from her. "I wanted you to see me only as your husband." She swallowed. "But you're more than that." "Yes," he admitted. "Much more." Silence stretched between them. "Are you a criminal?" she finally asked. Ji-hoon didn't flinch. "I'm a protector," he said, "in a world that only respects power." Her voice shook. "You hurt people." "I stop worse people," he replied calmly. "Men like Kangmin." At the sound of that name, Jenny's chest tightened. Memories flooded back. Locked doors, bruises hidden under long sleeves, nights spent crying quietly so neighbors wouldn't hear. "He used to tell me I was nothing," she said, staring at the floor. "He hit me when he was angry. Then he apologized. Then he did it again." Ji-hoon's fists clenched. "When I got pregnant," Jenny continued, tears falling now, "he said the baby would trap him. One night he pushed me. I bled for hours." She looked up at Ji-hoon, broken. "I lost our baby." The room went cold. Ji-hoon stood up slowly, his breathing controlled but heavy. He walked to the window, gripping the frame like he might break it. "I should have found him earlier," he said, his voice tight. Jenny rushed to him. "No. This isn't your guilt." He turned, pulling her into his arms. She cried against his chest, years of pain pouring out at once. "I survived," she whispered. "But he never paid." Ji-hoon kissed her hair. "He will." She pulled back slightly. "I don't want blood," she said quickly. "I just want him to know what he did. I want him to feel shame." Ji-hoon studied her face, then nodded. "Then we do this clean." The next morning, Seoul woke up to chaos. Headlines exploded. Kangmin accused of domestic abuse. Video from Gangnam Mall goes viral. Investors panic as Kangmin stocks drop. Jenny stared at the TV in disbelief. "That's his company," she whispered. "And his mother's," Ji-hoon replied. Phones rang nonstop in Ji-hoon's office. By afternoon, Kangmin's mother called. Her voice trembled. "Please," she begged. "My son made a mistake." Ji-hoon's reply was cold. "He destroyed my wife." "What do you want?" she asked desperately. A public apology, Ji-hoon said. From him. To Jenny. Today. The call ended. Jenny turned to him. Is this really happening? Ji-hoon smiled faintly. This is what accountability looks like. She stepped closer and held his hand. I'm scared, she admitted. I know, he said gently, but you're not alone anymore. That evening, Jenny stood by the window again. This time, she wasn't shaking. Somewhere across the city, Kang Min's world was collapsing. And for the first time in her life, justice felt real. By morning, Seoul was no longer whispering. It was shouting. Jenny sat on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, staring at the large screen in front of her. The news replayed the same clip over and over again, Kang Min's hand striking her face, the kick, her body hitting the wall. Each time it played, her chest tightened. Turn it off, she whispered. Ji-hoon picked up the remote and muted the screen, but he didn't turn it off. He wanted her to see what was happening. Not to hurt her, but to remind her she was no longer powerless. It's everywhere, Jenny said quietly. Everyone knows. That's how the truth works, Ji-hoon replied. Once it's out, it doesn't go back in. On his phone, alerts kept coming. Kang Min stocks plunge 30%. Investors withdraw amid abuse scandal. Mother's company under fire. Jenny looked up at him. You did all this? I didn't lie, Ji-hoon said calmly. I only removed the cover. She studied his face. There was no pride in his eyes. No joy. Just control. A knock sounded at the door. Ji-hoon's assistant entered quietly. Sir, Kang Min's girlfriend just released a statement. She says she's ending the relationship and condemns his actions. Jenny let out a shaky breath she didn't know she was holding. Good, she said softly. Hours later, Ji-hoon's phone rang again. This time, the caller ID showed a name Jenny recognized. Kang Min's mother. Ji-hoon answered on speaker. Please, the woman cried. My son is ruined. Our company is dying. Investors are pulling out. I beg you. Ji-hoon's voice stayed even. Did you ever beg him to stop hurting her? Silence. I raised him better than this, the woman whispered. No, Ji-hoon corrected. You raised him powerful, not kind. Jenny's fingers tightened around Ji-hoon's sleeve. What do you want? The woman asked, broken. Ji-hoon looked at Jenny. Jenny hesitated, then stepped forward. Her voice shook, but she spoke. I want him to say sorry, she said. Not to you. Not in private. To the world. The woman sobbed. Today, Ji-hoon added. Or everything falls. The call ended. That afternoon, Seoul watched as Kang Min stood in front of cameras. Gone was the smug smile. Gone was the confidence. His shoulders sagged. His eyes looked hollow. I want to apologize to Jenny, he said stiffly, for the pain I caused her. Jenny watched from the apartment, her heart pounding. That's it, she murmured. Ji-hoon leaned closer. Wait. Kang Min swallowed hard. I abused her. I caused her to lose her pregnancy. There is no excuse. Jenny's tears fell freely now, not from pain, but release. Across the city, investors pulled out in waves. Stocks crashed harder. The fall was complete. That night, Ji-hoon came home late. He held out an envelope. Jenny frowned. What's this? Open it. Inside was a check. 500 million Korean wons. Her breath caught. Ji-hoon, what is this? Compensation, he said simply, for what he took from you. She shook her head. I don't need. He cupped her face gently. You deserve more than apologies. She broke into tears and kissed him deeply. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, she whispered. He smiled softly. What will you do with it? Jenny wiped her tears and smiled through them. I'll build something of my own. What? A cosmetic brand, she said. I'll call it Jenny Cosmetics. Ji-hoon laughed quietly. Then I'll be your first investor. For the first time in years, Jenny slept without fear. Outside, Seoul buzzed. Inside, a new life was beginning. The name Jenny Cosmetics lit up the giant screen like a promise. Jenny stood at the entrance of the glass front building, her heart racing as cameras flashed from every angle. The soft winter air carried excitement, music, and whispers. People had come from everywhere, Fashion editors, beauty bloggers, business owners, and curious fans who had followed her story online. She never imagined this moment. 3 months ago, she was bleeding on a mall floor. Now, she was opening her own brand. Are you ready? Ji-hoon asked softly, standing beside her. He looked different tonight. Not the feared man the city talked about, but the husband who had held her through nightmares. His hand found hers, steady and warm. I'm scared, Jenny admitted. What if I fail? Ji-hoon smiled. Then we stand up again. Together. The doors opened. Cheers rose. Cameras flashed harder. The crowd surged with energy as Jenny stepped forward, her heels clicking against the floor, her head held high. She spoke into the microphone with a calm strength she didn't know she had. This brand, she said, her voice clear, is for every woman who was told she was nothing and chose to become everything. Applause thundered. The ribbon was cut. Jenny Cosmetics was officially alive. Inside, the space glowed, soft pink lights, clean white shelves, products displayed like art. Models walked through the room wearing natural looks, glowing skin, confident smiles. Screens showed the brand message again and again. Beauty is survival. Beauty is strength. Jenny felt tears burn her eyes. She turned to Ji-hoon. This doesn't feel real. He leaned close. It's real because you earned it. Someone shouted, Jenny, over here. More cameras. More smiles. Outside the building, phones buzzed nonstop. Hashtag Jenny Cosmetics. Hashtag From Pain to Power. Hashtag Soul is Watching. The brand was trending on X, on Instagram, everywhere. Later that evening, soft music filled the space as the crowd relaxed. Someone pulled Jenny toward the small dance floor set up for the launch. Dance with me, she said to Ji-hoon, smiling. He raised an eyebrow. In front of everyone? She laughed. Let them watch. He placed one hand on her waist, the other in hers. They moved slowly, gently, as if the world had narrowed down to just the two of them. The crowd faded. The cameras faded. For a moment, it was only love. I wouldn't be here without you, Jenny whispered. Ji-hoon's voice was low. You would. I just walked beside you. Later that night, they returned home, exhausted but happy. Jenny kicked off her heels and collapsed onto the couch, laughing. I think my feet are dead. Ji-hoon smiled and lifted her easily into his arms. Then I'll carry you. She wrapped her arms around his neck. You always do. In the quiet of their bedroom, as the city slept, Jenny rested her head on his chest. His heartbeat was steady beneath her ear. Ji-hoon, she said softly. Yes. For the first time, I don't feel afraid of tomorrow. He kissed her hair. Then my job is done. She smiled, closing her eyes. Outside, Seoul kept buzzing. The city talked about beauty, power, and a woman who refused to stay broken. And inside Jenny's body, something new and fragile had begun, quiet, unseen, waiting for the right moment to be known. A new life. The rain fell softly against the glass windows, gentle and steady, like a secret. Jenny stood alone in the bathroom, staring at the small white stick in her trembling hand. Her breath felt trapped in her chest. Her heart beat too fast. 2 clear lines. Not faint. Not unsure. Clear. She sat slowly on the edge of the bathtub, one hand covering her mouth as tears filled her eyes. Her whole body shook, not from fear this time, but from something warmer. Hope. Memories rushed in without warning. The hospital room years ago. The silence. The doctor's sad eyes. The pain she thought she would never survive. She pressed a hand to her stomach. Please, she whispered, her voice breaking. Please stay. Outside the bathroom door, Ji-hoon's voice floated in. Jenny, you've been quiet. She took a deep breath and stood up. Her legs felt weak, but her heart felt full. I'll be right there, she called back. She stepped into the bedroom, still holding the test behind her back. Ji-hoon looked up from his phone immediately. He always noticed when something was different. What is it? He asked softly. Jenny swallowed. Sit down. His expression changed, alert, careful. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching her closely. Are you sick? He asked. Do we need to go to the hospital? She shook her head slowly. tears slipping down her cheeks. No, she said. This time no. She brought the test forward and placed it gently in his hand. Ji-hoon stared at it. 1 second. 2. 3. His breath caught. He looked up at her, eyes wide, almost afraid to believe it. Jenny, is this? Yes, she whispered. I'm pregnant. The room went completely still. Then Ji-hoon stood up, so fast the chair scraped loudly across the floor. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she might disappear. Say it again, he said, his voice shaking. I'm pregnant, she repeated, crying now. We're having a baby. Ji-hoon broke. The man who ruled Seoul's underworld, the man who never bowed, sank to his knees in front of her. He pressed his forehead to her stomach, his hands trembling. I swear, he said, his voice thick with emotion, I will protect you both with my life. Jenny cried as she held his head, her fingers threading through his hair. We'll protect each other, she said. That night, they lay in bed holding hands, neither of them wanting to sleep. Are you scared? Jenny asked quietly. Yes, Ji-hoon answered honestly. But it's a good fear. She smiled softly. I used to think happiness was dangerous. He turned to her. And now I think it's worth fighting for. Ji-hoon leaned down and kissed her gently, carefully, like she was made of glass. The next morning, sunlight filled the apartment. Jenny stood in front of the mirror, one hand resting on her belly, smiling at her reflection. She wasn't broken anymore. She was becoming. At the Jenny Cosmetics office later that day, laughter filled the air. The brand was growing fast. Orders were coming in from all over Seoul. Employees moved with excitement and pride. You're glowing today, one of the staff said. Jenny smiled. I feel different. She didn't say why. Not yet. Some joys needed to be protected. That evening, Ji-hoon stood on the balcony, looking out at the city he once ruled with fear alone. Jenny joined him, leaning into his side. Seoul looks peaceful tonight, she said. It is, he replied, because my world is. He placed a hand over hers, both of them resting on her stomach. Below them, the city lights shimmered. Above them, the future waited. And for the first time, it wasn't written in pain, but in love. The doctor smiled before she even spoke. That heartbeat, she said gently, turning the screen toward them, is strong. Jenny gripped Ji-hoon's hand as the sound filled the room, soft, fast, alive. Her breath caught in her throat. For a moment, she couldn't see anything else. Not the screen, not the doctor, just that sound. Life. Ji-hoon leaned closer, his eyes fixed on the monitor. His jaw tightened, not from anger this time, but from emotion he did not try to hide. That's our baby, he said quietly, like he was afraid the moment would break if he spoke louder. Jenny nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Our miracle. On the way home, neither of them talked much. Words felt too small. Ji-hoon kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other resting gently on Jenny's knee, as if reassuring himself she was real. At home, he helped her sit on the couch, then knelt in front of her. I've already changed things, he said. Jenny frowned slightly. Changed what? My world, he answered. Less darkness. Fewer guns. More walls. More guards. More peace. He looked up at her. I don't want our child growing up around fear. Jenny reached out and held his face. You're already changing. That evening, Ji-hoon cooked dinner himself. Jenny watched from the kitchen doorway, smiling as he argued with the stove and complained about salt. You're banned from cooking, she teased. He glanced back. I'm learning.